Listen, I'm still waiting for the day till Carl actually becomes a little badass, but his acting is not badass. Welcome, guys. We are talking The Walking Dead. Non-spoiler review of Now. Now, this episode, the recap of it, the gist of it, is really focusing on Alexandria and some things that people are trying to do and zombies and yes, basically, yes. It's a non-spoiler, but basically, what this is really about is yes, Alexandria is faltering a little bit. They're trying to band together. They're trying to keep a lot of walkers from coming in. We also have Maggie and her situation. We don't really. There's no Daryl, no Abraham, no Sasha in here. Of course, no Glenn still. No Glenn still. But we do have Rick and everybody in company in Alexandria, held up in Alexandria. And you even have Michonne. But no Carol. Where the hell is Carol at? Gotta say, this episode, I think I was more entertained by it because I was with my cousins and their friends, and it was hilarious because we were kind of we were really just ripping the. It was like a what's it called, mystery science mystery theater, that type of deal. In tonight's episode with us, I wish I had a camera recorded all the like everything, just watching this episode with them because it was a little. There's a lot of things that you didn't really care about, but then when stuff does happen, it's kind of funny. Honestly, I kind of chuckled a little. There's one particular scene with Carl I kind of chuckled at. But yeah, like the conversations with some of these characters, like Tara has a conversation with the whatever her name is. I don't think that's Denise. Not Denise. Whatever. The doctor. That conversation's whatever. Honestly, it's kind of a throwaway. I think Rick had some good dialogue here, and Diana. We do focus on Diana in this episode, and she is like, I felt like I was watching a horror film with her as the lead. It was so funny, and she like reminded me of kind of Carrie for some reason. So this episode doesn't work sometimes because of the writing, because of the dialogue. It seems like it doesn't know what it wants to do in this whole. It definitely doesn't want. They don't want us to focus on everybody else because later on episodes they're going to focus on that. But they're trying to really get us to like Alexandria, to understand what Alexandria is all about. Get a little bit more Nicholas time in there. Get to know the people of Alexandria, which. Watching this episode, there ain't that many of Alexandria's people. Get to know Spencer, who's a real douchebag in this episode, and Diana. She's out of it. She's just out of it. And then Rick trying to just keep everybody together. This episode did present a lot of conflict, but then it presented a lot of writing that you've always like. Oh, they're searching for something. Oh, something's gonna pop out, and it does pop out. But I will say. The walkers in here is beautifully done. I thought the best walkers are in this episode. I thought they were awesome. I thought they were cool looking. So look for that if you haven't seen the episode yet. I do feel like it was a little tired. If I wasn't with my cousins and I wasn't having a blast just ripping on some of the stuff, and I'll explain my reasoning or what I was ripping on in my spoiler review. But if I wasn't with my cousins, I think I would say this episode just wouldn't cut it for me. After Morgan's episode, this has a little bit more going for it than the Morgan episode last weekend. But it still doesn't execute right. I mean, I believe the writing with the dialogue is just really the weakness in this episode. Also, caring for these Alexandria people, we're learning a little bit more about some of the people, but you still don't necessarily care. You understand what's going on, but you don't necessarily care what they do or where they're going. And this episode was just like it wasn't the worst episode in the world, but it wasn't the greatest episode in the world. I guess that's how I can always say it. But of course, everybody wants to see this. And then there's like a particular moment when I was watching this episode, and I was like, wait a minute, are they really just going to let that go? And they're really not going to explain what the hell just happened here? And that kind of bugged me as well throughout this episode. Like, really? You're just going to let that go? Like, okay, yeah, that just happened. Let's just go with it. A lot of this episode was just, let's just go with it. Let's go with the flow. We have a little bit of Carl in here, and I think Carl watching this episode really makes me realize, damn, this kid is not that great of an actor. Even if he was with, it's Carl from, we've seen him grow up, he hasn't really gotten better, honestly. And his character overall, Carl, I know I root for Carl, but right now Carl, Walking Dead Carl TV version is just not cutting it. It's really just, I just don't care. Like, I want them to do something with Carl, and at some point they will, but it's not, it's sad to see Carl really just be unutilized or just underused. There is some dangers in this episode, but it's mostly about hope. It's mostly about getting to know characters. It's mostly about seeing if this Alexandria could hold together for another day. So that's basically all I'm going to say about it. So thank you guys for listening. If you haven't already, please subscribe. Would really appreciate it. Like the video if you like it. And until next time, until we talk more, The Walking Dead. Watch my spoiler review, and I will explain more on the reasoning why I thought this episode was just okay. So thank you. Bye.